everybody. Welcome back into Mining Stock Daily. I think we have gotten through all of our Boca Raton interviews and so on to some regular scheduled corporate updates, morning briefings, and the whatnot to get us through the rest of the week. And actually, we are going to bring on a company. We actually introduced this story back in the Beaver Creek Precious Metals Conference last fall, but the company has gone through a couple changes. Same project, the Corral Project in Arizona, different management. In fact, we are welcoming back a long-lost voice, long-lost face to many of us, Matt Lennox-King, CEO of Intrepid Metals. They do trade on the venture with INTR and on the OTCQB with IMTCF. Matt, it's really good to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back. It's been a while for sure.
All right. Well, you have been on this podcast for many years before. You took a little bit of hiatus after Contact Gold, but you're back. You just can't quit this sector. You got to come back, obviously. So here you are. But walk us through, taking on the CEO role here of Intrepid.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks. And look, it's great. It's great to be back. Intrepid, to me, it's a pretty compelling opportunity. So for background, I'd originally been on the board from December 2024 until Feb of this year. And, there's a certain direction at the company that I wasn't entirely happy with as a director. So I stepped down. That precipitated changes at the management level and board level. And I was asked to come back by a group of shareholders as board chair and interim CEO, which I was happy to do. I think the Corral Project is really compelling. So it's down southeastern Arizona, about an hour and a half by car or by road from Tucson. And what you're dealing with is a historic mining district. You got very high grade and shallow copper and gold mineralization hosted in a series, what's currently a series, it maybe it links up, of carbonate replacement or CRD deposits. So we're up to 215 meters of continuous mineralization, local grades that are not representative, up to 20% copper, but does give a bit of a sense or an indication of the juice that's in the system, so to speak. And that's a small part of the 42 square kilometer project or property position that we're dealing with. So CRD is the starting point. We're starting to see really strong indications of localized porphyry mineralization. So we think that there's a lot of potential to turn it into something quite special.
Okay. You closed the year last year, 2025, with a 9.9% stake by Tech Resources, so a strategic investment by a major with this project. Still early days on the Corral Project, but maybe talk about what you know thus far about the project, any sort of prior data drilling example that's leading up to what the news was this week of targeting a new porphyry.
Yeah. And so this is it's a historic mining district, both on our side of the mountain range that we call Corral. Ivanhoe Electric's actually to the west. They're calling their side of the range Gleason. Anyway, what you see in the district, so you have these localized CRD deposits. And what we're seeing in our surface work, and part of this is also based on historic data that we've acquired, is you do have indications of a big alteration halo, if you will. So your quartz, sericite, pyrite halo, that's indicative of a porphyry somewhere in the vicinity. And then as we've continued to do surface work, so some fairly detailed sampling, a lot of detailed mapping, and actually relogging of our own drill core, we're starting to see porphyry fragments, porphyry outcrops, maybe not strongly mineralized at this point in time, but are helping us vector towards what this, we'll call it the causative porphyry in the district might be. Now, it might be on our side of the range, or it might be on the other guy's side of the range, but there's fairly strong evidence pointing towards one or more porphyries in the area.
Okay, very interesting. Maybe has Corral just not given the geological attention, the academic regiment that it needed in years prior? I mean, it sounds like you're really kind of going, almost like resetting the book here for the project.
I think that's exactly the right way to put it, right? Where
Okay.
Intrepid, they did a great job assembling the land position originally. It took a number of years, and it was pretty fractured land position. And then they drilled in 2024, 2025, roughly 10,000 meters combined, had really good results, but the company was fairly capital constrained at the time, and it was really either you drill or you do the exploration work. They didn't have
Mhm.
the bankroll to do both. So what we've really focused on this year is not even going back to first principles, but just backfilling behind the drilling. So the detailed mapping, detailed sampling in the key areas, really understanding the structural relationships. And then we're going to follow that up with a large IP survey kicking off in 2 weeks from now, to really give us, our best shot at imaging in the subsurface before we drill. So, you know, going to site, like, as an exploration, it's uh, almost daunting how much you could do on the project
Yeah.
to continue improving it, continue bumping it up the curve. Now, not all of that work is necessary, especially because we have drilled copper gold mineralization starting at surface. But it's a pretty exciting project, I have to say.
Okay, with the drill results that you have had in the past, what is that data telling you as far as the mineralization, the grade, maybe the vectoring into the sweet spot? I mean, obviously there's been enough in there to grab your interest. Now it's obviously
Mhm.
not the holy grail of a discovery.
Yeah, and so what it really tells us is that there is, in its simplest terms, a robust hydrothermal system um, at Corral that's resulted
Hmm.
in some very, very impressive mineralization in these CRD zones. What we also see in the drilling is that these zones, they're not closed off, that they can continue to grow. So we'll continue stepping out laterally um, from those zones and along strike. It's our hope that we can link these up. So if you go from the north to the south, you're going through Holiday, Earp, Ringo, and Clanton. And then there's a decent argument that they can be continuous. We also think that over time, and we're going through the exercise of validating historic data and all that sort of thing. We also think they likely hang together into some sort of compliant resource
Hmm.
estimate. It's not going to be a
Okay.
billion tons of carbonate replacement hosted mineralization, but it should be a fairly impressive deposit in and of itself when we do get there. And the other
Hmm.
thing we're seeing in drilling, just to wrap up sort of that thought process, is we are seeing um, fragments of mineralized porphyry in the drill core. So these are there's been a
Interesting.
mineralized porphyry. So you have B veins with like a nice molybdenite center line, high moly values in those intervals where you see the fragments. So it is telling us that there was or is a porphyry proximal to these CRD occurrences or yeah, occurrences. Can't call them deposits
Hmm.
yet.
Yeah, yeah, very good. So tell me about the geological expertise you're bringing in to maybe help with this exploration. Obviously, CRD experts? Are you bringing in porphyry experts? Obviously, you bring in too many people, you're going to get 16 different theories of how everything is formed. I mean, you and I first met and started chatting with Carlin style
Mhm.
mineralization in Nevada. So, I'm not, does this kind of have to branch and extend your own knowledge, geological knowledge here in Arizona?
Yeah, I mean, it's so from an operating point of view, Arizona's I'm finding it very similar to Nevada, right? As far as there's the
Hmm.
mining culture, understanding of what exploration is, what mining is. I mean, you're really just subbing out gold for copper in that case.
Right.
Uh, this is not my first go round exploring porphyries and related systems, but back in the day with Frontier Gold and Pilot Gold, when we were operating in Western Turkey, like that was certainly a porphyry dominated environment there. Um, so maybe going back to my roots prior to Nevada, and then as far as bench strength, Two of our key people, external consultants, are Dan McNeil and Al Wainwright. So they really specialize in this porphyry and porphyry adjacent mineralizing systems, and they've been kind of key in helping us develop the exploration programs over the last few years. And then recently, we formally brought on Ken Baliweg. So he's a US geo, contemporary and good friend of George Salamis, actually. Um, and he was VPX at Alamos back in the day. So he's worked extensively in this district. I'll say way back when. I don't want to date Ken too much, but way back when, in and around Bisbee,
Hmm.
Arizona. So the old Freeport mine, which is actually one of our best analogs for the style of mineralization at Corral.
Okay, very good. Let's talk about this week's news, specifically identifying what you're calling the curly target. I
Hmm.
love it's like what was it? The City Slickers movie? Was it
Yeah,
the Curly, the old cowboy? Man, what a character. That's
exactly.
immediately what I thought of. So how fitting. Lots of wisdom Curly had. So hopefully this target provides a lot of information and wisdom as well. But maybe walk us through honing the Curly target, what you're finding, and it sounds like this is going to be a high priority for you.
I think it will. To be honest, so this is an area where there is, I hate to say it, a lot of structural complexity, but that's really the plumbing we suspect for this system or related systems at Corral. Um,
Hmm.
So it's in a canyon, and when you traverse up the canyon, you see beautiful stockwork veining, you see quartz sericite pyrite alteration. And then one thing that the team did, and it's all detailed in that release, but essentially rather than just taking high-grade grab samples out of the country rock, the focus was on sampling the fractures and the fracture fill to try and essentially characterize the fluids that have come up. So the mineralizing fluids. So you use a Dremel tool, you generate all this powder, and then you analyze it with a portable XRF. So X-ray fluorescence. And what you see in that data is that there's a strong copper anomaly in the fractures of the leakage through that curly area. And then when you look at a copper over zinc ratio, which is a porphyry vector tool, you see the same thing. Uh,
Mm.
right. So you're seeing evidence on the ground through the mapping and direct observation, and then also through the sampling as well.
Okay, so you're going to be covering this with some geophysics here to start de-risking this. It seems like.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And so the plan for the IP survey is it's roughly 65 line kilometers, covering essentially the northern 50% of the Corral property position. And how that dovetails into everything is right now we're slated to start drilling September 1st,
Hmm.
10,000-meter total program. Roughly 50% of that, so 5,000 meters, will be allocated towards CRD related targets. So stepping out, expanding, kind of grow that near surface, really interesting mineralization that we have. And then the remaining 50% will be allocated to testing porphyry targets like Curly for the first time. And we're going to sequence it where we start off shallow as the results from the IP survey come in, get processed, we get the inversions and everything. We'll refine our porphyry targets and then jump on those.
Are you saying copper in the CRD mineralization
Yeah.
or
Yes.
higher grade copper?
Yeah. Yeah, we are for sure. And so when you look at it, the way we're viewing it right now, the current interpretation is the primary mineralizing event, I guess, responsible for the CRD mineralization was copper rich. And then we think
Hmm.
the gold mineralization is a later overprint.
Interesting. That's kind
All
of unique, isn't it? I mean, obviously I'm not a geo, Matt, you know that, but know enough to be a little bit dangerous, but usually CRDs, we're talking silver, lead, zinc type thing. It was similar to what you're seeing at the Taylor deposit,
yeah,
obviously. But copper is fairly unique when you get that into the CRD systems, is it not?
I think so. I think so. And I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just happy there's a lot of copper here and strong copper values. But yeah,
Right.
it is. I mean, it's certainly not like Taylor, right?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Peter McGaw to come bust into the chat here and
Yeah,
tell us
yeah,
what's up or something like that. Feel free anytime, Peter, if you are listening. Okay, Matt, very, very cool. So we're going to see a lot more activity on the ground, drilling starting September, 10,000 meters. So obviously a
yeah,
lot to communicate and share with the market here later into the fall and into the winter.
yeah.
But boots on the ground, a lot of de-risking here over the next few months, it seems like.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we've been as active as we can be on the ground, really, yeah, really since the end of March.
Hmm.
Kicking off those surface programs, obviously following off the geophysics, and then culminating in the drilling, which I think will be very exciting, just
Okay.
to get a look at what's down there. And I think the targeting work that the team's been carrying out has been top notch, and we should be very successful.
Okay. And exploration permits all in hand, ready to go?
Yeah. So what's unique here is that we have a lot of either patented mining claims or private surface
Mm.
rights.
Oh,
So
cool.
of that 10,000 meters, you could argue that 80% would be collared on private ground of one kind or another. And the rest would be on BLM notice of intent. So a fairly straightforward process as well.
Okay, very good. All right,
Yeah.
let's leave it at that. You and I have a lot to chat about here in the coming weeks, but that's really just setting up the next iteration of Intrepid Metals. So a lot of ground to cover, some rich mineralized systems to really start exploring and opening up. Again, Intrepid Metals trades on the venture with INTR. They also have an OTCQB ticker with IMTCF. Matt Lennox-King, pleasure to always have you back on. Look forward to having you back on more often.
Trevor, appreciate it. Always a pleasure.
The information presented should not be considered investment advice. Mining Stock Daily and its affiliates are not responsible for any loss arising from any investment decision in connection with the material presented herein. Please do your own research or speak with a licensed financial representative before making any investment decisions.